Yeah, what's going on, everybody? I do not know what the hell happened. I think it's actually a YouTube issue that's going on today, and I definitely apologize. For once, it's not my fault.
Congratulations to Buck for fixing it.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you I knew what I did. So
It's almost as if there was some kind of internet catastrophe the last couple days.
yeah, maybe. I don't know, man, but
everything.
I'm fucking pissed. Livid right now, dude. I got like a vein popping out of my goddamn head. Really apologize. I don't know what else to say. That was a complete catastrophe right there, and there was no way to fix it. So any of the pre-prep stuff that I had for web pages is completely gone. I had to restart everything. So we're just gonna go with it, man. We have a good, cool little episode lined up today that was actually inspired by one of our listeners, so it should be cool, man. I'm looking forward to it. I just need to kind of collect my thoughts and regroup for a second because I'm pissed.
Technology.
Yeah. Complete horse shit. So it was definitely some kind of YouTube problem, and I don't know.
Remember, let's be a cashless society any minute now. Let's trust the computers to keep track of our money.
I just don't even know what else to say, man, because, we had everything all queued up, ready to go. We were ready to rock and roll, and bada boom, bada bing, and here we are. Anywho, how was your week, man?
It was okay. Do you ever feel like Terminator goes unheeded? I mean, they made a pretty big movie about the computers turning on us and eradicating our species. I mean, a franchise, in fact. The Matrix. I mean, huh? The Net.
Yeah. So it looks like we got Chris in, we got Sarah's in, Nikki, our moderator's here.
Buck isn't gonna rise to the. He's not gonna rise to the.
I'm just freaking livid right now, dude. It sucks, dude, because you go through all this crap to, set up, make sure everything's working, everything's good, you're all ready to go.
Absolutely.
And then, YouTube decides they don't want to push out our live stream for whatever reason. Literally, everything was ready, set. I even had all the stuff. Obviously, I was typing in chat, so you saw me. The button that you pushed to say go live was not there.
Just wasn't working. Wasn't there.
It was gray.
Yeah.
So it was like everything I was doing was not working. I don't know, man. Anyway, welcome out, everybody. Welcome to our 6 o'clock, 6:22 live stream. Because, yeah. So anyway,
so we got a question about portfolios from one of the viewers.
Yeah. Before we get into that, though, real quick.
Okay.
Wearing I'm rocking the Convent tattoo shirt tonight.
Downshifters Motor Club.
To support Eric from Convent. He's got cancer and he's going through treatments and stuff like that, and he's been posted pretty regularly. And just in case people out there that don't know, Convent is the tattoo shop that I did the interview with Sophie, who owns it. The most haunted tattoo shop in the United States.
Okay, you actually had paranormal experience there, correct?
Yeah, it was. I'm not a huge believer of that stuff, but I had definitely some stuff happen while I was there that made me go,
Yeah.
And so Eric's been going through it, man. I think it's pancreatic cancer, but he's been posting updates, man. So I figured I'd wear the shirt tonight to rock it, and out of solidarity for Eric going through his little spiel. But so we got that. Quick update on my mom. She's up, she's down. It's like, nonstop. So, thank you for all the thoughts and prayers out there. And for the people that actually put in for the contest, man, much appreciated. We didn't get a shit ton of people to, send in yet.
All I know for certain is I haven't received any checks.
Well, so the thing is, though, is what? The people that did actually put in, that just gives them a better chance of winning. So, hey, I can't make people submit to the contest. But if you'd like to, the scroll across the screen right now is the email address for the contest, tattoos in review 1000 subs at yahoo.com. So if you haven't done that, make sure you do it if you want to. If not, then the people that are in right now are going to be like, sweet, dude.
Better 20%.
Better odds.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, hey, whatever. You know, we just ask that you put local or non-local. And then if you win or whatever, we'll figure out the details. So this way, we're not going to spam you. This isn't some BS spam email. We're not doing a mailing list or anything like that. Once this is done, I'll probably delete the email address and call it a day. So we're going to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Lauren. She was the one that posed the questions for tonight. And she's actually in the process of trying to seek out an apprenticeship. And ironically enough, Wednesday, she's actually going to meet with a shop. So she was like, perfect timing that we're going to do this.
Okay.
So she actually emailed this and said, hey, man, when she did her entry for the subscribing, that she was saying, hey, if you are, you know, have any question, or if you ever need a topic for the live stream, boom, and she threw it out there. So
that was people coming to the door. That was the whole.
Yeah, we're closed.
Yeah, we're closed. Because believe me, tattoo customers would just wander right in and be like, "What are you guys doing?"
Yeah, because it's happened.
Yeah.
While we were doing this before, so.
So she's got a tattoo shop she's gonna meet with.
Yeah, on Wednesday. So she's already been working on her portfolio and stuff, and I asked her, you know, hey, specifically if she had, you know, questions that she wanted answered. So Justin took it upon himself to do a little work.
I put together together a whole thing, man.
I'm gonna get struck by lightning.
A whole thing.
We're gonna get smited.
Smited.
Yeah.
So before we go into this, right, I just wanted to. I see all this stuff on Instagram about people saying, I didn't take an apprenticeship. I didn't hang out at shops. I just ordered up my stuff.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing. Look how awesome I am. And at the same time, you know, I've seen a lot of stuff about the ink study that was done.
Which, ironically, we didn't get to last week.
Right.
We were going to bring it up because it piggybacked on the topic that we had the week before, which I don't remember what it was, but...
The numbing cream. Maybe.
I don't remember.
But anyways, so the thing about having an apprenticeship is that if you don't have the common sense to not buy ink from Temu or from Amazon or from Joe's House of Tattoo Ink, or, you know, then you really need to take an apprenticeship. You know, because these machines can hurt people.
Yeah.
They can scar people. I did, you know, last night guy comes in, he's like, oh, I don't think this guy's ink took. And it's like, no, man. The ink took as much as it could amidst all the scar tissue. This guy got the 300 logo. And it was bad.
Gnarly.
Yeah, he got fucking jacked. The dude hurt him. You know, and I'm not the tattooer that says, like, when people come in and they're like, hey, what do you think of this? I'm like, it's a tattoo. It's I'm not the guy that runs down other people's work. But yeah, somebody obviously just ordered up some stuff and set to work on people, and you know, so I mean, there has to be some element of common sense.
Well, the other thing that we talked about, you know, again, we didn't bring up the article, but there was an article that's floating around, and a couple different tattoo shops had posted about it, that there's been some bacteria found in a bunch of different inks and blah, 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 but they actually never specifically named ink.
Right. They didn't name the ink manufacturer.
So at this point, Justin is saying that this goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today, because if you're just gonna go randomly order ink off of Temu or Amazon and really not like check on the validity of the company, then yeah, obviously there is a potential of getting some bad stuff.
I mean, I would say, yeah. I don't want to say it would be a certainty, but a company that's going to sell shit equipment is going to sell shit ink. It's common sense.
Right. So like if you're not ordering from a big name reputable company, and we're I think in agreement that, you know, none of us want to see the whole corporate takeover thing, but there are established companies out there that sell ink, or established tattoo artists that are selling ink that has been, you know, recipes that have been handed down from, you know, generation of their tree.
Yeah, I mean there's enough tattoo supply companies that aren't real interested in vetting who they're selling to. You know, they're going to sell to whoever they want, and you know, you look at what they have: Dynamic, Eternal,
Right.
Millennium. I mean,
and then there's the tattoo artists that aren't going to sell you ink if they don't know you.
if they don't know you, yeah.
So, I mean, you know, they're not going to just sell to anybody. I'm the person I'm thinking off the top of my head is
Mr. Perfect.
yeah, Cadillac,
Yeah.
right? He's got a recipe that's been handed down a couple different generations of tattooing, and you know,
These kids wouldn't even know how to use the sink.
yeah,
They couldn't even use it. Ah.
and he's not going to sell it to you if he doesn't know you. Yeah, but you know what? His shit's solid, man.
Absolutely.
His ink is his pigment
His pigment.
is freaking amazing.
If you know, you know.
Right. So, you know. Okay. How you want to jump into this?
All right, so I had all this other stuff.
I'm letting him lead this because
I had all this
I
other
really
stuff
don't have any
prepared.
business talking about this. I'm just a guy that gets tattoos.
So, so the questions that she asked about the portfolio.
Oh, do you want me to throw them up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yep.
When considering taking on an apprentice, would you rather see a focused portfolio showing a focus in one particular style, or a more versatile range of work in different styles? So I thought we could talk about the pros and cons. When you walk into a tattoo shop as an apprentice, should you have work done on fake skin or work done on other people? And say, this is what I've been doing at home, buddy. I want to learn how to tattoo, but this is what I've been doing at home on myself or my friends or whatever. What do you think?
I would say no.
What do you guys
I mean, I would think that maybe fake skin, sure, but on other people,
right?
I would say no. How about you guys in the audience? Anybody that's out there? Ooh, old Red Eyes is on.
Old
He's
Red Eyes is on.
catching us live tonight, man.
Yes.
He always catches us all after the fact. All right, so he says we're past the self-taught. Now we're in the age of TikTok taught now. With the ink or pigment thing, Europe tried the same shit.
Yeah, the single use packets.
Well, yeah, and they put on serious heavy regulations where they tried to ban colors and all kinds of stuff. So, but for the people that are out there, do you feel like an apprentice should be walking in with pictures of tattoos they've done or fake skin that they've worked on?
Because the reason I'm asking is because it's harder to break a habit than create a habit.
Ooh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? So if you walk in with like, hey, here's the 20 tattoos I've done on other people where they're, you know, pretty jacked, you know, that might not be the best look.
Okay.
So, yeah. But the fake skin, to show that, like, I was able to hold the machine, I was able to maneuver with the machine and the ink, I think that should be acceptable. But as far as the question, specialized or not specialized, like this, I don't know if anybody just wants to walk into a tattoo shop and be like, hey, can I be an apprentice? You know, because I think there needs to be a little more research than that. You know what I mean? So my tattoo shop is a traditional walk-in shop. So for this place, yeah, if you're going to bring in drawings, you want to bring in drawings done in a lot of different styles. You want to bring in drawings done from an art perspective, like still lifes and graphite on board, and or you know what I mean, pencil and watercolor. But you also want to bring in, like, these are some sheets of flash that I saw online that I reproduced.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But you want to bring in something that's applicable. Whereas if you went down the street to the local photorealistic shop, you might want to bring in something like, this is what I've created on my tablet.
So the other thing is, and you know, Old Red Eyes kind of talked about this, about we're past the self-taught thing. So there are artists out there that are well-known artists that have, you know, started their career self-taught, and a lot of them are the older generation. At this day and age, and hold on, let me back up where I was going with that. You're talking about a time frame where, you know, back then there were guys that maybe were nowhere near a shop. So for them to get in an apprenticeship, maybe it was a little bit harder. So they would have to travel to another town to get an apprenticeship. In this day and age, with the amount of shops there are, there's really no reason for you to not do an apprenticeship.
You know, and like,
I would even say 15 years ago, maybe that would have been an issue, but not now.
I mean, in the Spalding brothers, right? Because I'm from upstate New York. I mean, Tommy Spalding, if he thought you were watching him tattoo, like intently, he would turn your ass around. He would make it so you could not see what he was doing. They were not interested. They were not interested in sharing.
Right.
You
And
know?
there was a reason behind that, and we'll get to that in a minute. So stick to your bullet points so we don't get sidetracked, because we have
let's get sidetracked.
we get a tendency to.
Would a walk-in shop typically want to see that you can do more than one style? Absolutely. Versus a studio that might specialize in certain things. Absolutely. Like the idea of the specialist tattoo, that's a relatively new idea. And by relatively new, I mean the last 10, 12, 15 years. When I started tattooing, you did what came through the door. Unless it was something that was, like, I never, for instance, did portraits. Because I was always like, there's other guys that can do that better. I'm not going to mess with that. But black and gray, lettering, traditional, Japanese, anything that walked through the door, you were expected to
Right.
to at least be conversant in. So again, it comes down to knowing the shop you're going to. Are you going to a shop that has a reputation as being like a catch-all, come one, come all sort of walk-in place? Or are you going to like a very specialized
Boutique.
Right. You know, and so you have to know who you're talking to.
So Old Red Eyes just made another pretty valid point that I've heard you say. He said, for me, if you ain't been tattooed at my shop multiple times, I'm not accepting apprenticeships.
Right.
Nowadays, people just call. They can't even bother.
Wait. They call and they say, are you offering free apprenticeships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, they can't even be bothered to walk in.
Are you offering free Could you teach me how to be your competition?
There you go.
Could you maybe rent me the building next door?
And you know what? Here's the thing. So, I since we just, man, we're going to get sidetracked, but this kind of goes what we're talking about too, because, you know, there's this whole gatekeeping thing out there.
Right.
And, okay, yeah, man, maybe there is some gatekeeping and some guys are holding on to some stuff, but you know what? There has to be. Because
you know what else
at this point, at this day and age, you have to hold on to some stuff unless you're really taking somebody under your wing to apprentice them, because you just said it. You're basically training your competition. And here's another thing that is a huge factor that none of these people want to talk about. You guys are gatekeeping. And I'm talking from my own perspective. You can say whatever you want as a tattoo shop owner. But here's the deal, dude. The days of going and bashing your shop up because you open up right next to me are over. So, in reality, you know, these people want to soak up all the information and then turn around and go open up a shop right down the street. there's really no repercussions for that anymore.
No, there are not.
You know, back in the day, you did that. Your shop you would come in the next day and the windows would be busted out and, you know.
You get a visit.
Other things would happen.
Yeah.
And those days are over. So, yeah, you do have to gatekeep because you don't want people to
You know who else
freaking
gatekeeps?
open up right down the street.
You know, universities. Colleges gatekeep. Trade schools gatekeep.
Right, because if you don't pay them,
right,
they're not going to teach you.
Right? And even if you do learn, you don't get the paper, right? You don't get the I attended school for 8 years paper.
Right.
Like this is one of the only industries where we're expected to just hand out
information.
Hand out information. And I'm not talking about helping the next guy like this is how you set up a sterile field. Like we don't need to be completely closed down. But I'm not giving out my ink recipe either until I know you and really know you for years and for years and for years. There's some knowledge that should be kept back. We don't need to be pricks, but we also don't. You know, there was a thing that Jerry wrote in a letter to Don Hardy one time about how a guy got his hand on purple, right? So this is the 1960s, 70s. He got his hands on purple, and he went all around to every shop he could find to say, I got purple. You should let me work here. Right? Shared that secret with everybody of making the purple ink, how to keep the pigment safe. And Jerry was like, Jerry was like, that's insane. That's insane. Just to prove himself. He went and he shared all this knowledge. To get what? To get
clout?
Approved of? Oh.
Right.
And that's not saying we can't be generous with each other, because we can be. If you work in the same town as me and your power supply breaks down, you can come down here and say, hey, man, I'm jammed up. You know? I'm not going to throw you out the door. Like, I can be generous with other tattooers. I believe in cooperating with people. But there should be, you know, knowledge should be kept.
So, Red just said, for me, he said, yup. And then Sarah said, I know artists that have been tattooing for years and have never taken on an apprentice and have publicly said they probably never will. We know a lot of those guys.
Did you know, did you know that Lon Chaney Sr., who was an early horror actor and a pioneer in makeup, did not teach even his own son, Lon Chaney Jr., anything about horror makeup or acting? Didn't even teach his... You want to talk about gatekeeping? He didn't even teach his son. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. That was...
Nah, man. I mean, like, dude, Justin and I, when we were talking about this subject, because we try to have a little pre-meeting, you know, a couple days before, so this way Justin has time to take notes, I have time to take notes. And we kind of like went right down the line of different industries that so-called gatekeep. And when you said Lon Chaney, I didn't even think about that. But like the first thing that popped in my mind is magicians. Magicians will never like give up their secrets to be like, hey man, this is how I did this trick.
Right.
It's a magic show, man. Who says that all the time? Shane Enholm. It's a magic trick, man. I love that dude. Tell some crazy stories, man, but I love that dude. But yeah, man, so like there's plenty of different, you know, you hit it right on the head, man, when you said universities. They gatekeep.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not paying them, they're not teaching you.
No.
A mechanic, you know, they gatekeep.
An HVAC technician.
There you go. I mean, there's
Computer
tons
schools.
of industries out there. Why is it all of a sudden it's such a bad thing for tattoo artists to gatekeep?
Yeah, it's a bad thing for tattoo artists to be pricks about anything.
That's the rub.
Right, but to say, hey, man, no, I can't give you that. You know, there were times, you know what, I was getting tattooed by a friend of mine one time when I was first starting, right? And he says to me, listen, Justin, if you paint well enough to tattoo, You shouldn't tattoo. You should just paint. And if you don't paint well enough to tattoo, you shouldn't tattoo.
So he's basically saying,
don't tattoo.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, that's awesome that you think that, but I'm going to tattoo anyways. And but he wasn't like a prick about it. That was just his honest opinion. Like,
Right.
we didn't need any more tattooers.
well,
Clean your own tubes, guys. Clean your own tubes. Sweep your own floor. You don't need an apprentice. Pick
so,
up a mop. Stop being lazy.
Red just said, you can only cut a pie into so many pieces before we're all hungry. I've only been tattooing 12 years, and I've seen dudes get their hand broken with a ball-peen hammer.
Yeah, I never seen that.
Nah, me either, man. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, man. I mean, look, there's this whole thing about saturation of the market, and there's too many tattooers, and there's too many shops, and blah, blah, blah. And then you made a valid point when I brought that up the other day. And what did you say?
I forget.
That your generation's to blame.
My generation is to blame, yes.
And why is that?
Because we just took apprentices.
Right.
We just took apprentices.
So before we get into answering the rest of Lauren's questions, though.
Who took apprentices? Who took apprentices?
The reasons being, why?
What do you mean?
So you took apprentices, not you.
Right.
Your generation took on apprentices, and, why was that?
I think for two reasons. Because everybody had to say, well, I have this apprentice.
Okay.
And also because I didn't want to clean my own tubes. I didn't want to do the scut work.
Right.
Because, so I'm a 25-year guy now, right? But I got to be honest that between like 10 and 15 years, I had some growing up to do.
Right.
I had some weird attitudes. And things attitudes that I regret now. That's just the truth, man.
So Red just said that I started in a South Carolina biker shop in 2011. Shit was wild.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I saw an interview one time with Bob Newhart, right? Bob Newhart used to have a TV show called The Newhart Show. He had two of them, actually. One where he was a psychiatrist in New York, and one where he owned an inn in Vermont. And his whole shtick was that he was just a really timid, mellow guy. But in real life, he was a comedian. So I'm watching a documentary one time about old Vegas when it was run by the mob. And on comes Mr. Newhart, who says, oh, it was better. It was better. Vegas was better when it was run by the mob. Things got done better. It was more efficient.
Yeah.
And it was wild to me to hear like this like super timid sort of like mayonnaise white bread dude be like, yeah, I love that stuff.
Well, nothing for nothing, man, but like, depending on where you're at right now, we're in an area that was, at one point predominantly run by bikers. And before that was predominantly ran by the mob. When you take those people out of the equation, shit changes. And to be honest with you, I've heard a lot of old timers talk about how Vegas was better when the mob ran it, because you know what? It wasn't about being a corporation and about the numbers and the bottom line. It was about making the people that came there happy. So yeah, you might not have won all your bets and you might not have walked away every time with money in your pocket, but you know what, dude? They were giving out comps and they were giving out free meals and hotel rooms, and because they would try to suck you back in so you would bring more of your college educated money and your kids, tuition money and your retirement fund and blow it. But they were about making your life better.
I mean, was it better when when I bought my first tattoo shop, it was in the early 2000s, and I went and I paid a couple of visits, and I said, is this going to be stepping on your toes?
It was a respect thing.
Right?
Right.
But it was also like a respect and a little bit of self-preservation.
Right.
Because if you just hung your shingle out,
You were going to get a visit.
you're going to get a visit and be asked to offer an explanation.
So let's get back into her questions because I want to make sure we answer these. Before.
So was it better?
We're gonna run late, obviously, because we started late today. So
Was it better when it was more controlled? So this was her last question. What would your preferred apprentice candidate have to offer the shop, showcase in their portfolio? Painting ability, shading, ability in a diverse range of styles. So for here, I'm going to say that the portfolio is important, but the attitude and the vision of the apprentice is more important. Right? Like, there's nothing as frustrating to a tattooer trying to teach somebody as somebody that wants to explain how they need to be taught. You know, Buck and I were talking about this, and we're talking about framing houses. You know, before you do trim work, you hang sheetrock, and then you sand, and then you tape, and then you paint. You know, before you become a finished carpenter, there's a lot of steps to learn the skills to become a finished carpenter. Before you're taking the top end of the engine off, you might have to clean a couple carburetors.
right, like you're not gonna go into a shop as a mechanic, never been a mechanic before, and be like, "Hey, man, I want to rebuild engines," and you've never even done an oil change.
Right. So
There's steps you got to take.
right. So it's really like, you know, it sounds corny or whatever, but are you willing to be taught? You know, and willing to be taught is not willing to be fucked with or willing to be abused.
Right.
Like, that's super important, man. So the guys that taught me, I understood that if I stepped out of line too much, I'd be taken out back and I'd be given a lesson. Right? And that sucked.
Nobody should have to go through that.
Nobody should have to go through that. And it's not, and they weren't like, that's neither here nor there, right? So if I'm apprenticing somebody and they fuck up real bad, they're probably going to get yelled at.
For sure, man. But that's, you know.
I mean, afterward, I might say, hey, maybe I shouldn't talk to you like that. But nobody, you know. I had a guy tell me one time that he was trying to apprentice in a shop, and you know, they wouldn't show him anything. They wouldn't show him how to fix his own machines, and this was after he
Had
paid,
been there.
He'd paid and, you know, put some time in. They would mock him, and you know, and the impression I got from the guy was not in a friendly, ball busting between guys sort of way.
And intimidating.
Right.
Or trying to, yeah.
Like, nobody needs that, man.
So I really don't have a lot to add to that part, other than because I've never done an apprenticeship and I've never been a tattoo artist. But to me, the way I look at it is, I don't think that there's really a problem with mud checking somebody. And what I mean by that is that, you know, testing people to the point where, do they really want to do it? Do they really want to be a tattoo artist? Or is this something where they're like, hey, I'm just trying to be that rock star tattoo guy that is all over TikTok and the internet, pushing out my work, trying to be this rock star dude? Or is it really like, do you love tattooing? Do you love the idea of being a tattoo artist? Do you love doing art? It's not about trying to be this next rock star, you know, Kat Von D or whatever type of person.
Yeah, like, I'm going to tattoo for the rest of my life. Whether I make a living at it or not, it's important because I like my job. But if I lost all of this stuff, I'm always going to have my machines. and I'm always going to tattoo
Right.
because I love tattooing. And that's part of that. You show that you love that. You show that you genuine interest, a genuine appreciation of tattoos, of being tattooed, of doing the work. Maybe a little humility, a little teachability.
Yeah, well, so the other thing is that I the only point that I can add to this is, Justin's talking about, like, there's no reason to really be, like, going out of your way to make somebody's life hell, okay? And there's a difference between a little bit of hazing and abusing.
Right.
And there's definitely a difference, and there's definitely a line. And the only thing that I could say that I can even relate to it is, like, if you're prospecting for a club, you should never be asked to do something that club brother wouldn't do themselves. So when you're talking about, like, hey man, clean those tubes, or hey man, go sweep the floor or go clean the bathroom, you're not asking them to do something, and I'm not saying you specifically, I'm just saying, but you're not asking them to do something that you wouldn't do yourself or you have not done yourself. Now, you heard nightmare stories from you, man, like I heard stories like from Tattoo Tony working for Gene, you know what I mean? Like crazy shit that they had to do. Well, those days are over, dude.
Yeah.
And nobody should have to go through that. But you should also make sure that the person really, really wants to be there and really, really wants to put the effort into becoming a legit, well-schooled, well-versed tattoo artist. Red just said the best thing you can do to me is find a shop or a person whose work you like. Go get tattooed. Sorry, Red, I know you wouldn't say tatted. Go get tattooed, get to know them, and when the time is right, you'll know when you can ask. Part of tattooing is cleaning.
Right. And when I've apprenticed people, I might say something like, listen, man, I need for you to clean the bathroom because one day when you have your own shop, you're going to need to know that it's important to clean the bathroom because you're not going to need to understand that your female clients think a clean bathroom is really important.
I do.
Right?
Like
I saw a thing on Bar Rescue about the importance of clean bathrooms in bars.
Oh my God,
dude. It was a game changer.
Fucking A, man.
Right?
I broke my own rule. I cursed.
Like
you know what? I cursed right out of the gate today, so it don't matter. Dude, for me, if I go to a restaurant
nasty
and
bathroom.
your bathroom is nasty, I'm not eating there, dude. I'm out. Because, dude, if your bathroom looks like that, I guarantee you your kitchen looks like hell.
Yeah. Or even like, you need to clean the tubes because one day, like making things into teachable moments. Like that's something that apprentices have the right to expect. Like they have the right to expect to be taught. Maybe not constantly, because if it's a working shop, it's a working shop. And the other thing too is like, if you're a big burly bearded guy that likes Harley Davidsons, you're probably going to want to go to a shop full of big burly guys that like Harley Davidsons. And if you are more of an artistic, and you have a more delicate sensitivity to things,
that would be the shop you should go to.
You may not want to go to the big burly guy shop. You like. Yeah,
I mean, I think that kind of goes with what Red's saying. Like, you know what I mean, if you're going there and you're getting tattooed, that's obviously there's something about that shop you like that you're like, okay, man, this is cool, man. I like the vibe in here. I like the look of the shop. I like the people that are here. I like the vibe that those people are throwing down, because that's the thing, man, is you got to figure this is one of those rare opportunities where you can almost interview where you're going to work. Think about that for a second. Like, if you go apply for a job, you don't get to hang out with everybody and maybe, whatever.
sample
sample the food.
the company culture.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
this is one of those rare opportunities where this is almost like an opportunity for you to interview the company that you want to work for. Like, when I go apply for a job, I fill out my resume and do all that and apply, and then you have your interviews, and then you have the interview maybe at the place where you're going to go work, and then they do a little walk around or whatever. That's your time to go, you know what, man, this looks cool. So it's the same principle here. So I would assume that you wouldn't go apply for an apprenticeship at a shop where, like, you look like Captain Caveman and you're all tattooed up and blah, blah, blah. And then you go to like this cool, like, dainty little shop that's run by some females where they're serving cucumber water and it's all feng shui and they got, like, Zen music playing in the background. That might not be the shop you're looking for.
Dude, I actually have an appointment to get tattooed at a shop like that tomorrow.
Okay.
Cucumber with the whole nine. I'm going to get a face mask done, a mud bath.
I think you should videotape it so I can put it on the channel.
Right. So part of it too is that, like, tattooers, like, I value, like, this is my place. Things here are the way that I like them to be. And if you don't like how things here are here, then people are very welcome to go elsewhere. And I think almost every tattooer I know is like that. Even the cucumber water ladies. They want the shui, and they want the relaxation, and they want the easy. And that's what they want. So it would be foolish to go into a shop like that, applying for a job, and be like, yeah, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to play Slayer every day. That's okay, right? I actually applied one time at this shop years and years ago, and I realized after I left the interview that I was not going to get the job because I scared the shit out of the person interviewing me. And I didn't mean to. I was just being like, duh, the Vikings, just being like my goofy ass self, man. But yeah, get in where you fit in.
I mean, I think that I've heard more than one tattoo artist talk about this subject and flat out said, you know what, go get tattooed there, and go get tattooed there on more than one occasion, and then maybe think about it. And
right.
then, Red just said it tonight. I mean, I think that was one of the things that Eric said when I was interviewing him, was just like, man, go get tattooed by them, go hang out with them. You know what I mean? Because look, that's the other thing, dude, is you're going to be spending 8 to 10, 12 hours a day in that shop. You want to make sure that you're a good fit. And Red just said, I sweep, mop, and clean my entire shop every single day I'm here. Trash taken out, etc. That's a great point with the interviewing the shop you want to work at.
Yeah.
It is, man, and I never even thought about that until just now. But this is one of those rare occasions where you're actually interviewing the shop, going, hey, man, this is a good fit for me.
Yeah, and just because, I mean, there's tattooers that I admire and that I think do great tattoo work. And I mean, I might even like them as people, but I wouldn't want to work with them.
Right.
Because I couldn't stand to listen to, like, I couldn't stand to listen to Miles Davis all day.
Right.
I'd lose my mind. You know what I mean?
There you go, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you got anything else on that list that you wanted to bring up?
Let's see. Important of right attitude, having a similar vision. So, and that's again, like with understanding the shop that she's going to, bring art that complements that shop. Like, it's all about recon. It's all about research.
Reading the room.
Look who you're going to be working with. Like, so years ago, I belonged to a thing called Tat Doodles, which was like a members only place to get art, but also to post your stuff. And I would post traditional tattoo work, and these guys would come in on me and just just hammer me. You know what I mean? And then one of my friends that was on that server said, "Listen, man, the first thing that you do when somebody critiques your work is you look at their work to see, do they even like the work that you are posting? Because there are guys that are, if it's not what they like, they're gonna bash it. You know what I mean? So look at the place where you're going and see, what they want to do."
So the other thing that we talked about that I don't notice being on that list is, the guys that go from shop to shop to shop, right? Shop jumpers. And we're not talking about the guys that were like, back in the day went, "Hey, man, you know what? I want to go work for Ed Hardy because I want to learn Japanese work, and I'm going to work for him for a couple years, learn to, improve my, Japanese, Chinese style tattooing, Asian." I'm trying to be politically correct, dude. I'm falling all over the place. But, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the guy that works at a shop for like a year, soaks up whatever he can, whatever kind of details he can, the recon he can, and then bolts, goes to the next shop. And then all of a sudden it's like, you see that they've done that 2, 3, maybe 4 times, and then all of a sudden they open up a shop.
Yeah, that's
we don't need to mention names, but
no, I'm not saying anything
it happens.
Yeah,
right, and that's no bueno.
Yeah, see, there was a time when that would not have been allowed.
Right, because eventually, after the second shop, somebody would have made a phone call.
Right.
And been like, "Yo, dude,
this guy's no good."
Right.
Right. And it goes back to something that Shane said. Are you going to take from tattooing, or are you going to bring something to tattooing? It is one thing, man, like to go into a shop and be like, "Hey, I really like your work. Can I be here with you for a little while?" And, have some kind of like honest, upfront conversation. But just to go in, glom up everything you can, and then go to the next spot and glom up everything you can, and go,
And then have the balls to open up a shop right down the street.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that is just...
Yeah.
I don't understand it, man. And I man, I've heard a lot of people talk about it and stuff, and I don't get it. The only thing I can associate that to is there was a study one time, and I don't remember what it was like. I know what it was about, obviously. I don't know how it came about or why they did the study or whatever, but there was a study back in the day where they did it was like a business study, and they said if there's 3 pizza places on one street and they're busy every day, there's enough for them to open up a 4th shop. And so on.
Right.
But eventually, there's going to get to a point where it might only wind up being those original 3 shops, because the 4th, 5th, and 6th shop they're going to, soak up some of the overflow, but eventually the overflow is going to disappear.
Man, that COVID money.
That
COVID money's drying up.
Honestly, that is one of the things that I'm hearing the most from a lot of the older generation, or even guys that were 10 or 15-year guys, where they're saying that, there's this influx of new shops that opened up because they saw that it was busy, it was crazy busy, and there was a lot of money and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? When you're in an economy like we have right now, where everybody's pinching pennies, there's not a lot of money to go around, dude. I mean, I would love to get tattooed more than I do, but you know what? I make good money, and I still can't afford to get a tattoo because it costs me double or triple for groceries and gas. So it's like, not everybody's going to have this extra money. The thing is, man, and this is one of those things that's always going to stick in my mind, and it was actually Eric that said this. He was like, nobody needs a tattoo. A tattoo is, what's the word I'm looking for?
A luxury.
A luxury item. You don't need a tattoo. You might want a tattoo. but you don't need it. So if you don't have the money for it, you're not going to get it.
So I was talking to somebody today, a client of mine who is a debt collector and has been a debt collector for about 2 decades. And we were naturally talking about the economy
I have
and
no
stuff.
respect for somebody that does that for a living.
I understand.
Not that I have any debt, but
I understand.
I'm talking about the people that call and hound you.
Yeah. She prefers to think of herself as helping people to mitigate their past mistakes. But anyways.
Yeah, okay.
So even her business is hurting. And she's like, I don't understand. I'm like, because people are struggling for food and gas and rent and utilities. And when you're struggling for that, you paying off debts gets put off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if it's either eat or pay off the debt.
Yeah.
I'm eating the sandwich.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You can call me all you want. You know what I mean?
Block.
Like, nah, dude, I'm actually good, man. I pay all my bills. But when I was a kid, though, and this is why I say this, when I was a kid, you know, man, my old man was like Captain Credit Card. And that was pre-cell phone days. Now I'm thinking about it, it was pre-caller ID days. So the old man had a heart problem and was in a wheelchair, so he didn't work. He was on Social Security or whatever. My mom worked. She was a nurse. So, my old man was home all the time, so he'd always be answering the phone. So the debt collectors would call, and he would think, oh, man, I got to answer the phone in case something's wrong with the wife or the kid or whatever. F you, blah, blah, blah. Bloop. Look, and I know it's a thing where, like, people look at it like, oh, you're a scumbag because you don't pay your bills. Oh, it's all right. You know what I mean? But sometimes people get jammed up for whatever reason. I don't know. I have more respect for the old, collection guys from back in the day.
You're going to pay your bill.
You know what I'm saying?
I can't go back empty-handed.
The old school dudes.
I can't go back empty-handed.
That I had to go collect money every once in a while. They're the guys I got respect for. The Vinny Gumbas. Enjoy a bag of donuts.
Yeah.
Or Victor.
Right.
Had to throw some other ethnicities in there. I didn't want to just,
So now we're, that's one of the things about tattooing, though, too, is that it'll winnow itself. We're going to see now who wants to tattoo. Like, do you really want a tattoo?
Are you looking for this magic TikTok internet career to blow up and become a rock star?
Yeah. What if you got to drive a shitty car for a little while? You know
what's crazy about that though is the old heads that are the guys that we would consider to be the rock stars, the living legend dudes. They don't think of that. That's not their mentality at all. They're just guys that wanted the tattoo and loved it.
So I saw a letter one time between Lyle Tuttle and another guy, and I don't remember who the other guy was, but they were talking about setting up a second shop in like a fairly decent size, like a Cincinnati sort of city. And Lyle was like, we can't get a second shop in there. There's not enough work to support it. Can you imagine? There's not enough people want to get tattooed for there to be a second shop. That's what it was like.
Who would you consider to be one of the first like rock star tattoo guys?
Like, what do you mean rock? Like,
when I say rock star, like the tattoo guy that like
Jack Rudy,
that everybody knew, that was like, oh man, that's the dude.
Rudy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because prior to the 1970s and early 80s, I think those guys kept a much lower profile. Like I would say like Don Hardy, but Don Hardy was the guy that was publishing the books about that Jack Rudy was in. You know what I mean? So the kids were reading about Jack Rudy.
Goddamn Harley Davidson riders with their loud motorcycles.
What are you gonna do?
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, it's Jack Rudy.
There you go. Old Red Eye said the kneecappers. Yeah, that's who I was talking about. And Red said, I lived in my car for 2 years to get a spot at Coast to Coast Tattoo. No one at that shop I knew was living at knew I was living in my car. Red is saying the first rock star tattoo artist was Lyle Tuttle. That's probably. I think if that would have probably been the guy that I would have thought first because of the whole
thing with
Janis Joplin and which
the Rolling Stone article,
because he didn't even really tattoo Janis Joplin anyway.
The Rolling Stone cover, actually.
Yeah, but
Tuttle was a little bit of a dick, man.
He was a good dude. I mean, I heard stories. I heard stories to support both.
Yeah, a little bit, you know.
Yeah, man. Well, you know what, dude? He, you know.
No disrespect to Lyle.
No, but he also didn't tattoo Janis Joplin either. So, we'll leave it at that. One of these days, we'll get to that story.
We will get to that story.
That's a good one, man. But I want to hear it from the horse's mouth first. So, or the relative of the horse's mouth.
So as far as that's apprenticeship, I guess.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it, dude. Hopefully, Lauren, if you watch this later, she's not in right now, but you watch this later, you got the details that you wanted out of this, and anybody else that's listening. I mean, Sarah, I know she's looking into it. Cold Iron Jesse isn't a current apprentice. There's a couple other people that listen to the show every once in a while that have talked about being an apprentice.
Jesse just got his face tattooed again.
I saw.
Yeah.
I saw. Good for him.
Good for him.
But
so we stoked about Saturday?
I'm very amped up about Saturday for the New York City TatCon. I cannot wait to go. I'm not really looking forward to going to New York City. Not a fan. But we're also talking about doing the Lyle Tuttle exhibit while we're there as well.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. I'm going to try to take pictures and do some video footage if I can, just so everybody can kind of see, what it looks like and some of the pictures and whatever, and I'll post them up.
So Buck's plan is to take videos and maybe do interviews. My plan is to try to get my girlfriend to make out with Joanna Angel.
Okay. Yeah, man, I went and got business cards made up, and so, but if, we're going to be walking around, I'm going to have my Tattoos and Review t-shirt on, and I'll have some stickers and stuff, and Sarah just said, this has been fantastic. I've been listening to everything intently.
Right.
There you go. So she's still here hanging out, but apologize for the late start. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm glad that you guys hung out and stuck it out with us. I can't thank you enough for that. And, hopefully next week we don't have any issues, because next weekend is going to be huge for me, man. Like, I got a huge slate of stuff that I got going on, so I'm going to be running around like a maniac next weekend. But I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it, too.
For sure. But thank you all for stopping out. Thank you for being a subscriber. If you haven't subscribed, why haven't you? And we'll see you all next Sunday, 6 o'clock.
Yep. Stay safe, guys. We out.